All right, welcome to another episode of NFL Outdated Cover 2 series. I am joined by Matt Daniels, aka Mr. Wheels, captain player for Buffalo's first ever wheelchair football team. How are you doing?
Not too bad. Thank you so much for having me on. Really appreciate it.
Well, I found out about you, following the Bills and the excitement for the Bills this season, and just finding out about this. It's exciting. So I'm glad we connected on Twitter, and I'm really interested to hear about your story, and I want to share your story with as many people as I can as well. So, obviously, I mean, is this the first year? First of all, is this the first year for the wheelchair football, or
This is
yeah.
this is our second official season, and I do
Mhm.
believe, as far as on an organized level, this is the second official season of USA wheelchair football. So this is the second year itself.
And how did you get into it?
Once I got out of the military, I had to find something that I wanted to do, because I've always liked the competitiveness and just the teamwork and the team in general. And I've always missed that in general, being an athlete in high school. So when I got out of the military, it took me a couple of years, but I ended up coming across sled hockey. And I actually bumped into Adam Page, which he is a three-time Olympic gold medalist in the Paralympic sled hockey. And I met him and his father, Norm Page, and they introduced me to sled hockey. So I started to practice with Adam. I started to really, really enjoy it. I've been playing it for about 5 years now. And, that was my little intro into Greater Buffalo Adaptive Sports. And once I got to know Norm a little bit better, and Adam, they told me about the wheelchair lacrosse team for the Buffalo Bandits, which we also do. And, he gave me a call and he said, hey, we received a grant to start an organized wheelchair football league and was wondering if you'd like to play. Before I even finished, he said football. I said, I'm in. So that's basically how it started. It was just, hey, Matt, do football. I said, yeah. So me, myself, and Adam, we kind of started, and we branched off, and we started to, ask some of the other veterans from the veteran sled hockey team if they wanted to come up for football. So we have, I do believe, 5 total Army veterans that are on the team right now.
That's awesome. And let's go ahead and kind of get into your story. Obviously, you talked about being an Army veteran, and that has to be hard. Being a part of in the Army, and then kind of coming back into as a civilian. And talk about your story as an Army veteran, and then that also kind of coming back as a civilian then as well.
Okay. So I joined the military Halloween of 2006, and which was such a scary treat for me. Going right into basic training. First off, I got to say that it was Halloween. We took our flights, we landed, we got on the bus, and the minute we got off, it was like, welcome to the Army. But joined in 2006. I deployed for 15 months in Iraq, 2007 to about early 2009 ish. Yeah, it sounds about right. About 2009. While I was there, I was also an infantryman. So, we did a lot of the, raids, patrols and whatnot, check up on IEDs, quick reaction force and whatnot. And, being in the military, generally speaking, it does a number on your body in general. You don't have to have any specific injury, but just being a part of that, your knees, your back, anything, carrying the loads, that just does a number on your body. So about 3/4 of the way through my tour in Iraq for 15 months, I ended up leaving just a little bit early. I was injured while I was overseas, and I was having trouble walking. I was falling a lot right away. So I went and got checked by the medic, and they sent me over to another base. I do believe it was called Cobb Spiker. So I went over to Spiker. They did some MRIs, some X-rays, and I had a fracture in my lower back, along with some nerve damage too, along with bulging discs, herniated discs, and whatnot. So I ended up coming back to the States just a couple weeks early so I can get a jump start on my surgery. And once we got back from Iraq, I ended up medically retiring in 2010. But I was still able to walk, but I was using a cane at the time. And this is part of my whole transition into finding something that I wanted to do, something to be a part of. So, using my cane, I at first I just kind of lost focus on anything. What am I going to do? But I didn't want to be another statistic. I didn't want to just sit around and be another statistic and not do anything. And I felt like it was my job to show the rest of the people, my fellow veterans and anybody else with disabilities in general from birth, that it's not over. And like I said, when I met Norm Page and Adam Page, it was the start of something great for me. I was able to transition to sports, and that was amazing. So, but from 2010 when I got out, I used a cane for a couple of years, and then I ended up transitioning to a walker. And just to be completely honest, never wanted to use the walker. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't want to use a walker,
Mm-hmm.
especially at my age. But it wasn't safe. I kept falling downstairs. I kept falling in general. It just wasn't safe for me. So I ended up losing some feelings in part of my legs. I'm not paralyzed, but I just had some nerve damage that affected my walking and my stability. So after the walker, I had to make the harsh decision to actually become wheelchair bound, and it would help me get around a lot easier, and less excuses. So I transitioned to a chair in probably 2015, maybe 2016 or so. And obviously I've been a lot better, as far as, getting around, which is, it's helped too. So, before I wouldn't want to walk, I wouldn't want to do anything just because of how depressed I was in my head. I'm falling, I can't do much. What am I going to do? And then sports literally saved my life. Football saved my life.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I mean, I'm sure the kind of the mentality, the mental part of it too, because I think back to when I played football, and you know, basically it's a lot different than it is now, as far as, I mean, you fight through things. You say, just rub
Correct.
some dirt on or whatever. And I'm sure that mentality part of it, to just kind of like, as you were starting to have to use a cane, that might have been hard too, right? As far as just
Yes.
kind of that realization that, no, this is real. It's not just like,
Yeah.
you're going to get over it.
Yeah. That it was a huge wake up call to a cane. Like, it's using it. And then, of course, being, stubborn that I am. And basically the philosophy is rub some dirt on and keep moving forward. You know, I wanted to overcome this. So, I would try to walk without it. And then, like I said, it just kept falling and falling. But that was the huge wake up call for me, is the cane, being from the cane and then transitioning over to the walker. It was a huge wake up call that my life is about to change.
Now, you use the word stubborn, and it gets such a negative connotation, but it seems to be, you kind of change that stubbornness into kind of a positive in, with just kind of, sports and everything. So talk about kind of that transition then, into, obviously, the football realm, and you played football, I guess, growing up, right?
Correct. Yes, I played football in high school for Niagara Field. I was the fullback and the linebacker from 2000 2005. That's when I started that. And what? No, I'm sorry. What was the question itself?
Yeah, I mean, so the word, like, uh, we
Stubborn.
sometimes, yeah, I mean, if we don't want to do something, we label as stubborn, but you can also be
Yeah,
stubborn in a positive way, to say,
gotcha.
I'm not going to let this beat me. You're not gonna, and it sounds like that's kind of mentality, that you didn't want to, feel sorry for yourself. You wanted to find some positive things to kind of go into.
Correct. Now, being stubborn, just like you said, it has a very negative outlook on it. And just like a lot of wives, oh, you're stubborn. Stop it. You're stubborn. And a lot of those things I take and use that as a positive. I use that as a positive as far as being stubborn, because I mean it shows my drive that there's no excuses and I'm going to keep doing it. There are some things that I may need help with, but if you want to consider stubborn a bad thing, I consider it a good thing because it keeps me on my toes, even though I'm in a chair. It keeps me on my toes. And I just honestly, I really think it's a positive thing. I think people really need to be stubborn in a way to succeed. And
Mhm.
that's honestly that's my philosophy. And you need to be stubborn. You need to be hard on yourself. If you take it easy on yourself in general, how are you going to excel? How are you going to move forward in life and sports and in anything? So being stubborn to me is a good thing. It sets your goals right, and gives you gives you drive, gives you something to do. It's okay to be stubborn, but make something positive out of it is, basically what I came around to do.
Absolutely, and you've made something really positive. I talk a little bit about wheelchair football 101, some of the rules and regulations, and how it works.
So wheelchair football is a 7-on-7 game. Everybody is an eligible receiver. Now, to be downed or tackled is two-hand touch. Now, at first, a lot of people would ask me, why do you wear a helmet if it's just two-hand touch? I said, come to a practice or watch a game and you'll find out why. But once I heard about football, I was 100% in. Every other sport was sidelined for me. Football was it. I got a chance to keep going with football. Now, when I got out of high school, I either was going to go for wrestling or go for football. And I had the opportunity to go to Fordham University, I do believe New York City, to play football. Had the opportunity to go up there, had a real good combine afterward. But right around the time, a little before college enrollment, I made the decision to join the military in 2006. So, a little less than a year after getting out of high school. And then, like I said, from there, the rest is history. But football, is 7-on-7, two-hand touch, full-on blocking, hitting. There's no basic fundamental rules as far as hitting. You have to take a lot of the rules in the NFL, high school football, youth into consideration with wheelchairs. So your pass interference is exactly the same, but when you're going side by side with the wheelchair and then they bump into you and make you come to a complete stop, that would be your pass interference. So it is very, very similar to the NFL itself, just with some minor changes. Our 4 quarters, we have 4 quarters, 15-minute run clock does not stop. We get 3 timeouts per half. And when we score a touchdown, we either can run the ball in, which would be a 2-point, or if we throw it, it's a 1-point. The field itself, I do believe, if I'm correct, it's approximately around, it's like 60 to 75 yards or so. And as far as the width, I'm not 100% sure on the width though, but generally speaking, if you ever watch hockey, the width of the hockey rink itself where they play hockey is very, very close to how wide our field is in general. So when we had our game at Buffalo River Works, the width was perfect. The length was just a little bit shorter than normal. It was probably about 15 yards shorter. But Riverworks ended up working out just right. It was perfect.
Well, and I imagine, you're officially kind of connected to the NFL and the Buffalo Bills then?
Correct. Yes. We signed a contract with the Buffalo Bills. It makes it so we are able to legally use the Buffalo Bills logo, uniform, and name from here on out. So when we go anywhere, we are considered the USA Buffalo Bills wheelchair football team, which is to have that logo, it's great. I mean, it's right behind me. I take pride in that. I am a Buffalo Bills and I take pride.
Absolutely. And with that, then I'm guessing that's part of the helmet as well. I mean, they have certain regulations as far as, helmet, with everything that they do. Are there other kind of regulations that the NFL kind of has made the league have as well?
Let's see. Helmets are necessary. As far as enrollment to the sport in general, it's anybody with any physical disability and veterans, either with physical or mental disabilities. Gives them a chance to participate in sports. But helmets was a for sure thing. Once they started the league, they seen that some people took it very serious and started to hit, and everybody agreed that helmets would be the best choice. Now, we do not need to wear shoulder pads. It's encouraged, but not. You don't need to actually wear any rib guards or anything, but some people on our team, they wear one of those tight-fitting spandex with the rib guards on each side, knee pads, elbow pads for the sake of falling, because we all hit the ground. We call it the concrete gridiron is what we call it. So there's no giving that floor when we hit. You gotta have some type of something to stop you from getting injuries, and that's what the elbow pads, knee pads, and helmet take place.
Well, yeah, and so it must also be hard on the wheelchair. Do you have a separate wheelchair for the league then as well?
Correct. We actually, here's the funny thing. When we first started in this league, we got a grant from, I believe it's the Bob Woodruff Foundation.
Mhm.
And they help with they help and give grants to teams that want to start an organized football league. And excuse me. So sorry, I lost focus. I was going to head on something else. So I'm sorry. I apologize. I
No,
was going to head on something else.
the grant for the wheelchairs.
Okay. Oh yeah. So I apologize. So the wheelchairs itself, when we received the grant, we really didn't know what was in store. We really didn't know. We heard about helmets and two-hand touch. We thought very minimal of things. It was just going to be like flag football. But so we order our chairs and we get these chairs in. The wheels are canted like almost at a 45, so your sharp turns, the speed. It's able to take some heavy contact to it. But the only issue with what we had was because we were so in the dark about the league and what was what type of chairs we needed. We really didn't know, so we ordered basketball wheelchairs.
Ah.
And we found out right away that basketball wheelchairs were not suitable for football.
Mm.
And one big reason is that the front of the wheelchairs we have this bumper, and you're able to move it forward and backwards. So the first game in Arizona last year, I hit somebody real hard. Hit somebody so hard that we both fell out. I'm not fell out, but tipped over in our chairs. When I got up, my chair wouldn't go forward. So what had happened was the bumper moved back and pressed up against the frame, so those two front wheels couldn't move. So what we had to do was tip it upside down, try to hit the front bumper forward a little bit. But every time you took contact, especially someone like me on the team, I hit hard.
Mm-hmm.
I go all out on everything. So we quickly realized that we were the only people that had basketball wheelchairs and all the issues we were having with it. But we had no idea at the time,
Mm-hmm.
none whatsoever. So with a lot of these donations, we had a documentary a couple months ago, basically on the first ever Buffalo Bills wheelchair football team, and an intro into some of the individuals on the team and some of the things we go through. So people, I mean, you could watch as an outsider, but when you watch the documentary, you see personalized stories. You see the struggle, the desire, the drive in individuals. It's not just, oh, cool, they play. We are in it to win it. We are completely focused and set on doing everything that we could. So with these donations after the documentary, we were set out to, get new wheelchairs. And during the documentary, we were doing a Q&A, and Scott Bueller walked right up front and he asked for the microphone. So right in the middle of Q&As, I was up there along with Adam Page, Norm Page, the coach, and he came over and he asked for the mic. He took it and he looked at our manager and he said, "How many chairs do you need?" He said, "Well, we would benefit with 10 chairs. It would definitely help put us in the right direction." And he said, "How much are they about?" He said, "Around $4,700, I believe. And these are for wheelchairs that are made for heavier contact, like rugby and football.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is a new league, there is no specific football wheelchair." So we asked, and $4,700. Scott Bueller took a second, looked down, looked up, and he said, "Done." Donated over $50,000 to get 10
Awesome.
chairs, brand new football wheelchairs for this. So, that's going to be great for the start of our next season, is these new chairs. But the chairs was definitely a tough thing. You need a reinforced frame, especially if you're going to hit. I mean, if you think about these kickoffs, we're going, I'd say 10, 15 miles an hour at each other,
Mm-hmm.
and we're hitting each other as hard as we can. So, we need that support. We didn't realize how much of an impact, the chairs would have on us.
With that, I mean, it can be tough for families as well. NFL, any type of football. Is it kind of tough, or maybe was it tough for your family and others to kind of see you play this for the first time?
Yeah, my wife is she knows the type of person I am, that
Mm-hmm.
I love physical sport. So when she found out I was doing football and then she was able to watch one practice, she was worried, concussions and whatnot, injuries. And she, she was happy for me, but of course she was worried, just like anybody is. I mean, Tua, an example, like concussions
Mhm.
itself, that's just one, that's just one major issue. Yeah. So she was definitely worried about me, going into that and knowing that, I don't, I only give 100%. I tell my kids, you either give
Sure.
100% or you don't do it at all, no matter
Mhm.
what it is. So I taught my kids to do that. And, they are all a little worried for me, just about the contact and the injuries.
Mhm.
Um, but for the most part, I've been able to hold up. But a week before our game, I broke my thumb a week before our game at Riverworks. So that was one of my big injuries that I
Mhm.
personally had. And at the same practice, we lost one of our guys for the season. He dislocated his shoulder and broke his elbow, I believe, when he fell. So it's a very physical sport. It's almost like you have to worry about us in a way, family members and fans. I mean, it's not just as simple as two-hand touch. You got to watch it to feel, what football is. You have to watch it, and once you watch it, you get an amazing, great visual on what we do and how it's done and how hard we hit.
Well, talk about the teams. I mean, does every NFL team have one? And who are some of the teams to beat along with your team?
So right now, as of right now, there are 11 nationally recognized teams in the Wheelchair Football League. We have, just to name a few, we have the LA Rams, the Green Bay Packers, Cleveland Browns, Chicago Bears, and these are all, NFL. I guess you could say NFL sponsored teams.
Hmm.
Through the NFL and the teams themselves. And those are some of the teams that we go against. There's, like I said, there's 11 total. One of the toughest teams that we faced was actually the LA Rams. And the first year we faced them, I mean, we got destroyed. It was a big wake up call, big wake up call. Um, and we've always wanted to progress and move forward. So this season, we were actually able to hold our own. We still lost against the Rams, but last year, I do believe they were the champions last year. So we did a lot better than we did last year. And it's all about progression. We
Hmm.
have people on our team who have never played football.
Hmm.
Me and one other person are technically the only people on the team who have football experience, learning how to read plays, understanding defense, offense, routes. So, that was it's tough trying to teach people from scratch. But these teams are tough. But our newest team that we've had a tough time with was actually the Green Bay Packers. And um, if I do believe I am correct in saying this, this was their official first year. Now, the reason why they were so good was some of the people on the team, on the Green Bay Packers team, are actually USA wheelchair basketball players, nationally ranked wheelchair basketball players. So their
Hmm.
chair skills are through the roof. It's not just physicality and going forward and doing. These guys, their wheelchair skills are just phenomenal. The way they move in and out, their routes, their cuts, the angles, they know what they're doing.
Talk about that a little bit too. I mean, do you have like a training camp? I mean, those type of things that kind of get, because that has to be something like skill wise you have to continue to work on. I mean, how do you train for wheelchair football?
It's learning how to, like I said, coming from a stand-up sport and understanding how to block and then transitioning to a chair and doing the same thing. That was different. It was a lot hard. It was a lot harder, and learning, how to take on these blocks the correct way, how to cut them off, where to hit. So, in our practice the first year or so, we really took the time to try to figure out how to use our chairs and how to block correctly, how to, just maneuver the best we can in general. And this was for blocking in general because nobody really knew. It just kind of bump into them. So we trained a lot to get used to making contact and still moving forward. So a lot of our drills, we have a guy just like they do in football in general. You have your running back and a blocker, and then you have a defensive lineman, and then maybe a linebacker. So The running back tries to go through, and then you have to make contact, and then you're blocking. So blocking is definitely, it's a tough thing, and it might not seem like it to a lot of people, but you have to really get a good angle to lay in some good blocks and make it legal. You can't hit anybody from the back at all, especially if you're riding on the side of them. You can't just bump into them on the side. It's blocking in the back. So just understanding the angles was definitely different. So now when we're blocking, we really try to encourage, especially if they're coming in on an angle, we want to cut them off. We want to make contact hard, but after we make contact, the biggest thing is being able to stick with the block. So what we do when we hit somebody, we try to almost stay in front of them sideways if we can. So we'd hit, and then we'd go. So they're in front of their wheelchairs facing our tires. So we go forward and backwards to kind of stop them from moving around us. And that was tough. That was tough trying to do that, because you think block, hit, you hit, you block, and then hit again. But when you make that first contact, you get a little bit of separation because of that contact. And we're having a lot of trouble with these guys, continuing on with the play. We made a great first hit, but they were able to keep going. So we had to improve on that. That was big. We had to learn how to make contact for the block and stick with the block. And that's something we are all learning. I'm getting better at it day by day. So is a lot of our team. We've had a huge improvement since last year. I mean, with everything, everyone's understanding their assignments. And like I said, blocking was one big thing. And we've been able to definitely excel at blocking, but it is a little bit different than your standard blocking,
Yeah, absolutely. And you said it was 7-on-7. Then how does that work on the offense? Like, so there's obviously like a center, and how did that hike, how does that happen and all that?
Okay. So, all right. So the center, starts off, and you can do it one of 2 or 3 different ways, but a lot of the people, they will face the quarterback themselves with their back to the defense. You have to hold the ball technically where the line of scrimmage is. So you can hold it up here, you can hold it below. So once they say hike, boom, you go right there. Now that's one of the toughest things for the center to do, is to throw that and then know which way to block or which way to turn. Now everybody is eligible. So, and the cool thing about our team is that we actually have plays. A lot of people just play backyard football, and we said, well, what can we do, for the people who don't understand football? Maybe we could start doing some plays, and that's what we started doing. And that helped too, because, it's not just backyard football. Once you start playing organized with plays, things start to come together. So you have your center, and then you have your 2 tight ends. So there must be 3 people on the line in the start of a play. Like I said, everybody is eligible. So we have the center, our 2 tight ends, our 2 wings, and then quarterback and the running back. That's basically how we run our offense, with me in the back. I'm the running back, or you can call it the wheel back is my position. And but we also, we move the running back around. So we'll do trips on one side, we'll do twins on one side. Not all teams have somebody to block back there. Now it really depends, obviously, on the play. If our tight ends are going out for a pass, I need to stay back. But yeah, everybody's eligible. We had a lot of good plays. Actually, the first year when we did it, we didn't realize how effective the center could be until the LA Rams really started to use their center. So basically what he did was he hiked the ball. The center just went backwards, just kept going backwards. Didn't face anybody, just kept facing the quarterback. Back 5, 6, 7, 8 yards, and just sat there. So everybody else is worried about all the wings, the routes, the tight ends, and the center sometimes, the middle linebacker, is sitting there covering these crosses, the curls, the posts. And then you have the center sitting there. So it's a lot more to think about, knowing that every single person is eligible. And that was one of the most underused position that we used at first, was the center. And now that we've adapted, we're able to use the center a lot more. I actually threw a touchdown a couple weeks ago, actually more than one. I threw 2 touchdown catches with our center. So I rotate in and out of quarterback as well. Like I said, one of my good friends, Dave Cross, he's our quarterback. He's another veteran himself. He's an amputee. I do believe he has 2 or 3 Purple Hearts. He's a great person. And, we both have the same mindset, and, as far as what we want to do and understanding and moving positions. So, myself and Dave, are the 2 with the most football experience. So, having me block or go out and then having Dave go out and block, it's beneficial. So, when you throw people around a little bit, it gets people a little confused. So I am able to throw the ball. I'm not a quarterback at heart, but I have no problem going wherever my team needs me. So if I can throw the ball and I can put points on the board, I will play quarterback. But with our center, when we went to Chicago, like I said, I threw 2 touchdown passes to our center, and that's all he did was move back. And then the great thing about that is that when they adjust to the center, it leaves somebody else open.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot more to it. It's not just playing backyard. Is it zone? Is it man up? Are we switching? There's a lot to it. With the wheelchairs, people just think that, it's, I don't want to say easy, but there's like, oh, you just go out for catches. I mean, yeah, basically. But if you want to win and succeed, you need to understand why you're doing these things. What these plays are designed to do. Who is it designed to leave open? And once we started to tackle that stuff, it was great. So we utilized our tight ends a lot. So, we've actually done some plays where we pitch it back to me, like I'm going to go for a run, and our wings kind of stay in the block for a second, and our tight ends go off for a pass, and it leaves it wide open sometimes. So there's a lot of plays that we utilize now. I guess you call it trick plays in the NFL, but we have 2 people, myself and Dave, that can throw the ball and move from different positions. So that helped a lot, having 2 different people that can move in different positions.
Now, on the other side of the ball, I'm guessing, is this kind of Iron Man football, or do you have, rosters like, more than 7, or what do rosters look like? And then, what are your strategies then on the defensive side?
So on the defensive side of the ball, obviously it's 7 on 7. And what we try to do is have 2 defensive ends rush the majority of the time, put pressure on the quarterback. So it either takes their 2 tight ends out of the play, or puts a lot of pressure on the quarterback to make that play, with the linebacker, scouting and looking around. So on the defensive end, a lot of the times we'll play cover 2. So we'll have our 2 safeties in the back playing cover 2. Our wings will try to man up. Our Mike will stay zone somewhat in the middle. But then again, like I said, we do change some things around. We'll do a twist, just like in football itself, where I'll go one side for the defensive end, and then he'll go the opposite side. So, the defense, basically, we don't want to give up the long ball. So there's 15 yards ever for first down, but the first down markers don't move. They're already set up on the field. So if you get the ball a yard away from the first down, like on the kickoff, you only need a yard for the first down. So there's no chain gang or anything like that. Yeah. So it's a little bit different. So technically in a real game, I do believe there is technically 3 first downs, maybe 4, I believe, that you can get. So you can either punt, when you get the ball, and a punt is just basically the same thing, but we're throwing. Kickoff, same thing, just throwing. But special teams was something else that, we had to learn, especially going at top speeds and trying to learn how to block with people and, returning the ball. But yeah, our defense just kind of sticks to our basic game plan, cover 2, man up on there. And they've actually moved me around. I originally played Mike, and I'm a linebacker at heart, but with my football knowledge, I can play, any other position. It's just whether or not I'm good at that position. So they moved me to, I don't know if you're familiar with Bud Carpenter. He's been the Buffalo Bills athletic trainer for 33 years, and he retired, I do believe, in the past year or 2, a couple of years ago. He's actually working with us. So to have somebody on that team, like he's actually in the photo, I believe, second to the left. Or no, maybe he's not in that one. But yeah, Bud Carpenter, he's been with us for the past 2 years or so. And to have that insight from somebody who's been in the NFL for 33 years, I do believe 2 Pro Bowl appearances too, as a trainer, to have his knowledge, from a professional league I couldn't ask for anything more. The guy just offers so much. He's a phenomenal person. So Bud's out there, he's taping up thumbs, readjusting everyone. So Bud Carpenter came to me right before our game at Riverworks, and he said, "Matt, I want you to play safety." I said, "Oh, okay." I didn't know why, he said, I want you to play safety. And I think moving me to safety was probably the best bet, known as that I'm able to read defense or offenses and understand generally where they're going.
Mm-hmm.
So when they put me at safety, I ended up having 2 interceptions at the game on Saturday. So I think that's what we're going to do, is transition me from linebacker to safety, strong safety, free safety, to get a better look, from back there. Because a lot of times we were getting beat man up, and our safeties, not knowing truly how to play zone in their area, would get beat. So myself and then Dave on one other side, we're playing strong safety, and we're making sure that these two wingers are not getting deep balls, because that was one of our big issues the first year. Once they beat them off the line, it was one of those like 1-2, shoot, quick dump off, 15 yards on the field. Then you got another 10, 15 until the safety or over the safety. So, that was something we had to do too. So having the safeties keep an eye on those wingers, and, having the Mike, the middle linebacker, roaming to catch any inside routes from the tight ends or anybody else. So that was a big change. And Bud asked me to play safety, and it was, the man knows what he's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
He sees athletes, he knows their abilities, and, he looked at me and he said, I want you to play safety. And honestly, I think that was a great move. That was something I never even thought about doing. And he's just so full of knowledge. And I'm so appreciative of this guy. He offers so much to our team, and he's just so committed. And it really is. It's amazing. And I'm blessed to have somebody like that in our team.
Yeah, it sounds like he kind of acts like a coach, but you do as well. You're captain. Is there someone who is the dedicated coach, or do you just kind of, all kind of, obviously look to you as the captain, and then also him as, for direction and guidance?
Yeah. So when we started, we actually have our head coach, and he may get mad at me for saying this wrong, but he coached, I do believe, it was maybe like Williamsville area. I believe he coached high school for a good, I do believe, 11 years or so.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a legit coach on our sideline, and he helps out of the kindness of his heart. He does not get paid for any of this. He loves the sport of football. So once we, asked him to help coach, he brought his 2 kids in who also played football with him, who have great football knowledge. They're about, their mid-30s or so. And I do believe one of our coaches, Andrew Wade, excuse me, I think he played for like Cornell or something like that, or he played football somewhere local. So we actually have an organized staff, which is amazing. So Bud Carpenter has stepped up, not only to just put his 2 cents in. He helps the coach lead. We can't not take advantage of having somebody with 33 years of professional football knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
So, he's big with our defense. His defense, I think, is his big one. I think he has a good understanding, especially with the wheelchair and the wheelchair skills and whatnot. He knows his defense very well. So having him out there to help touch up the defense with Andrew Wade, which is one of the assistant coaches, is great. So for the offense, mainly it's our head coach and his other son, Eddie Wade. So, he helps out as well to help run the offense. So like I said, we have a very organized team, coaches, athletic trainer, and one other person that we actually had who volunteers his time to help too. His nickname is Woody. Now, forgive me for not knowing his real name, but he was the equipment manager for the Buffalo Bills for years.
Mm-hmm.
He's the one who came over and helped put our decals on our helmets, get everything organized as far as that. So him and Bud work great together. They've worked together with the Bills. So we have a great staff. This is as organized as it comes. And this is what I love about it. It feels like a true football league, a true football game. It makes the officials, the coaches, the plays, it just puts it all together in this beautiful package that we call wheelchair football.
And is this a paid gig, or is it kind of a passion project?
So you're talking about for the players themselves?
Yeah. Yep.
So no. So we do not get paid. There are a lot of grants too that they want to give to some of the athletes to, for the sport in general. And a lot of the grants that we have, basically is we show up, our travel is covered, our hotels are covered, most of our food is covered. So we're substituting a pay
Mm-hmm.
for, you know, I guess free flights, free hotel. It's not
Mm-hmm.
free, but to us as the players.
Mm-hmm.
So
Absolutely.
we have less stress about, not even stress, we have less on our shoulders. Everything else is organized and put together. We just show up. So we are taken care of through our team, through the organization, through grants, through Move United. It helps us as a team, you know, just like I said, be organized and have everything situated. Our hotel rooms, so we don't have to worry about calling, getting it situated. It is set up like a legit professional league. It's beautiful. You know, call up, get our hotel rooms. This is our stay. Transportation from A to B. It's all, like I said, our coaches, organization take care of it through donations. So, like I said, we just show up. That's what we do. We show up and we crack skulls.
Hey, that's a good thing to do.
'Cause
And so, roster wise, are there, uh, 10 people on a roster, or what do the rosters look like, uh, for
so
each team?
we like when we played the Cleveland Browns, I do believe they only had 9 people. Like this is a fresh league, you know, only 2 years in. So a lot of people are just starting to finally realize that there's wheelchair football, you know, out there. But our team itself, actively, I do believe we have 13 or 12 total people that are actively there. Um, as a team, technically, we have cuts in a way. You know, we
Mhm,
don't cut people, but we want people who show up,
mhm.
who go out of their way to make practices. I drive an hour out of my way to go to practice twice a week. You know,
Wow.
that's no
Yeah.
excuse. Yeah, I mean,
Mm,
it's no excuse. I have 4 kids. You know, I'm
mhm,
married too, so you know, there is a lot, and I'm that dedicated to do that. So for the people that just show up once every other week or every couple weeks, you know, we can't play you if you're not going to be that dedicated to the team. We will play you
mhm,
because we need to remember this is a league where, you know, we want everybody to play, everybody with
mhm,
all disabilities. This is not just for the top dogs. We want to get everybody in, but we need people to show up to practice. We need people to show their dedication to it. So the people who show up and work the hardest and train and ask questions, those are the people that will play. So we need those. That's what we need on our team. And for the most part, we have a lot of people who are dedicated, and I'm very thankful for that because the last thing I want is a team, you know, that just does it as fun. Now it is
mhm,
fun,
mhm,
but I mean, when you play something, you want to win, and it's not all about winning. It's more about coming together. I would be okay if we all came together, didn't win a game, but we were all on the same page, connecting the right way, you know, and just all have the same drive and desire and will. And you know, it's a beautiful thing to have most of our teammates in that boat that are extremely dedicated to do it. But a lot of teams, the Green Bay Packers, I believe, has about 15 total people. Tampa Bay Buccaneers has about 24 people as well. Myself, I play both ways. I play, you know, defense and offense. A lot of the people do. There's probably about 4 people that play both sides of the ball with some rotations in and out. Like I said,
mhm.
it really comes down to, are you participating in practice? Are you trying to improve? Are you trying to understand? So, and that's one thing I like about it too. You know, it is for everybody, but we're not just going to have you put you in for showing up once a month. You know, we need people who are going to be there and be active in the sport itself.
And you talked about there being 11 teams. What does the schedule look like? How many games? And then what do the playoffs look like?
So I'll start off with playoffs. So basically, at the end of the season, the last tournament, they take, I do believe it's the top 4 teams to have a playoff. Unfortunately, we were not able to make the playoffs last year. Seeing as that we went, I believe it was like 1-6 or 1-7. It
Mhm,
was a huge wake up call to the sport. Um, but let's say the other teams themselves, um, I was gonna say they oh God, I forgot what I was getting at too. What was the main question? I apologize. What was the main question you were asking out of this? I
yeah,
apologize.
so the schedule, in
Oh, the
in when
schedule.
when do the playoffs happen
Okay.
and all of that?
Okay. So I'm sorry. So the playoffs themselves, the top 4 at the last tournament. The last tournament of the year is one that we are attending. It's Salt Lake City, October 22nd, I do believe 23rd. So there are 3 major tournaments throughout the year. You have Chicago, And as far as the date, I don't have that exact date on me, but it was Chicago was approximately a month ago, a little over a month ago when we went,
Hmm.
and we had our first home game, and now we finished up with Salt Lake City. So the three major tournaments are in order: Chicago, Tampa Bay, and then Salt Lake City. Last year we did Arizona, um, Arizona and Kansas City. So
Hmm.
far we've been going to two tournaments. So that's why we need more. That's why we're looking for donations nonstop to help us go to these ones to have more experience with, other teams. So we'd love to be able to go to Tampa next year. But
Mm.
it seems like every couple of years they might change the location itself. And when we went to Kansas City, um, that was around the time with that 13 seconds with the game with the Buffalo Bills in Kansas City,
Yep.
which is whole which is a whole nother thing. But we actually played right in the parking lot at Arrowhead, which was awesome, and we had a lot of people. And what I mean, it's an organized, tournament. I mean, it's extremely organized. Everything's taped off, pylons, numbered on the sideline, scorekeeper. There's four officials. It's the most organized sport that outside of high school that I've ever been a part of. So playoffs, top four teams, which we have not yet been a part of. We're hoping to, at least we'd like to, is to be top four. Like I said, there's three major tournaments, and we actually had our first ever home game against the Cleveland Browns, which we did win 13-6 just recently.
Yeah, and you've been a part of this, and your nickname, Mr. Wheels. How did you first get that nickname?
So generally, to be very blunt, Mr. Wheels, because I'm in a wheelchair.
Hmm.
That was, one of the main things. But it started to, when I started in sled hockey, I got to, when football, I'm sorry, when hockey season was in full swing, um, and, outside of hockey itself, like after practice or whatnot, I just kept on saying like, I'm Mr. Wheels, and I go and, just like hit people. I go and just hit people in my regular chair, my standard chair. And it just kind of stuck, Mr. Wheels stuck. And there are a lot of people out there who, in wheelchairs that call themselves, Wheels or whatever. And
Hmm.
I take pride in being the one and only and the official Mr. Wheels. But it was just as basic as it is, they just, also Meals on Wheels is another nickname they like to give me, which is
Nice.
great. But yeah, Mr. Wheels is just a very standard nickname that just kind of stuck. I mean, even my best friends, they call me Wheels, like Mr. Wheels, what's up?
Hmm.
So it's just a name that just kind of stuck, and and I don't mind it. I really like the name. It doesn't bother me. Being in a wheelchair at first bothered me for a little while. Having some major issues on getting things done, going places. It was just annoying and very hard over time, but I just embraced it. I embraced the Mr. Wheels, and I went along with it. And it's just made me into the person I am today, believe it or not, just through a name. It
Hmm.
gave me almost a sense of purpose. Mr. Wheels. Well, what is Mr. Wheels? Well, Mr. Wheels is an athlete.
Hmm.
I do it all. And it just kind of stuck. Like I named one of my buddies who's an amputee, I named him One Leg Dave, because we have another
Hmm.
Dave on the team. So he's One Leg Dave.
Hmm.
But yeah, the nickname just kind of stuck with me, and everyone loves it. Even my coach calls me Mr. Wheels.
That's awesome. And you can, and people can find, game and information and all of that at the Greater Buffalo Adaptive Sports website, right?
Correct. On the website itself, it does have a Greater Buffalo Adaptive Sports also participates in sled hockey, wheelchair lacrosse, wheelchair football, and for the first time, I do believe it was this season, they just did curling for the first time,
Mm.
which it's not. It was never my cup of tea, but
Hmm.
like I
It's not
said,
easy. I've tried it.
no,
So.
that's what I mean. And then now trying to do it on a chair is a little bit different.
Hmm.
So, but I'm all up for challenges. I'm building up a resume for life. So when I'm
Hmm.
done, you can look at everything that I've tried, everything that I've accomplished, whether I've succeeded or not. But each thing that I do, I set out and I try to dominate every single thing I do. So,
Hmm.
I mean, curling might be the next thing. Also, tennis. Tennis is another one too. I'm competitive. Why not? But for the majority, you'll find the rosters, what we're all about, the donation page on greaterbuffaloadaptivesports.org. And for more information, you can actually head over to Move United. That is one of our main sponsors,
Hmm.
along with the Bob Woodruff Foundation. They have the tournament schedules, the rosters, Like if you actually go on Move United right now, you'll actually see our schedule for Salt Lake City, October 22nd. So our first game is at 8 a.m. I do believe on the 22nd.
And that's moveunited.com then.
I do believe so. Yeah, I believe it's moveunited.com. If you just go into the Google search and put Move United Wheelchair Football, they cover more things besides wheelchair football, but that's one of their babies right now that they just stuck with and are helping with. And Move United has a lot of information as well too about the sport. So if anybody wants to get involved outside of the Buffalo area, you go to Move United and check out how to start a team too, because we're expanding. We want more teams. So we're looking for more teams. We want somebody else in a different area, like in Texas. We have one team, and I do believe it's the only team that we have in the league right now that does not have an NFL team name or sponsored. It's I think Birmingham Hammers. So that's one of the only ones without an NFL sponsored name technically.
I'll have to get connected to the USFL team.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, aren't they Birmingham Hammers?
Well, the Stallions.
Okay, Stallions. That's what it was.
Yep.
Okay, yeah. So they're one of the first ones, and I love that too. It's nice to have to go against these NFL sponsored teams. It's beautiful, but to have other teams that don't necessarily have an NFL team to fall back on, I love that even more. I love to see that they're building these teams from places from the ground, and they don't care. Let's just put this together. Let's start a league. We're in Alabama. Let's do it. So you can go to Move United and look into how to start, and add yourself onto the roster for, the major tournaments that we have for wheelchair football. So you can basically put in your information and request information from Move United about, adding in a team. And they also have clinics too for people who need an intro into it. So you're not just put right into the sport. They have tons of clinics on Move United's website. So they will have a bunch of clinics all over the place, not just in one state. They're all over the place. And it gives you a really good intro into it. So, coaches as well. Coaches can request information as well, learn more about the league, learn how they can help, what they can do. So it's only 2 years. I mean, within the next 5-6 years, I would not be surprised if we had almost 20 teams in this league. And that's one thing I try to remind people. This is the beginning. You are witnessing the beginning specifically for Buffalo's first ever organized wheelchair football league. And, you're following us from the start. You get to see how much we branch off, how well we continue to do, what other teams join the organization. This is the first for this area, and this is huge. Buffalo has shown nothing but support and love for our team. Bills Mafia, I have to give a huge shout out to Bills Mafia. What I mean, they had our back. I couldn't ask for a better fan base, a better organization. People always talk about their teams and how great they are, but just being a part of this culture and then having the Bills logo and represent the Buffalo Bills. Bills Mafia have embraced us with open arms. It's honestly an amazing feeling. Bills Mafia, big shout out to you guys. Thank you so much for making everything possible. They have spread the word. I'm getting inboxes left and right about how do I get involved. I've actually recruited 2 people from Twitter to join the league. And then unfortunately, the one guy who did join, he was a major asset to our team. And that's when he broke his elbow like 2 weeks ago or so. But that's what I love to see. And not only that too, I want to make sure I say that in the near future, we are very close. Not even in the near future. I'm talking maybe even next year. We're going to start the first ever youth football league for minors and younger people. So, my job as a captain of the team is to not only, teach the players, just the basic fundamentals of football, but, guide them in the right direction, and also show the youth that, the youth with disabilities, that there is something to do. And a couple of the kids, they come to our practice and they're just so involved. They love it. And to be a part of that, to start a youth program in Buffalo and be the first one ever, that's our goal. It's not just to have sports and compete. It's about bringing people in, showing people what the sport is, what it has to offer, it gives you something to do. It gives you, drive, desire. I mean, it gives you everything you need to, keep your chin up and keep moving forward. And I'm proud to say that, I'm a part of this organized youth program. So,
That,
and we're looking to hopefully get it started within the next year or so.
that's awesome. Well, speaking of another team, I would be remiss if we didn't bring up your Buffalo Bills. What are your season predictions for this team? And I mean, where do you think they can, go? I mean, it has to be Super Bowl, right?
I mean, I think that a lot of people, over the past 3 years say we are definitely Super Bowl contenders. And I truly feel that. I truly feel that way. And that's just not me showing my support and love for the Bills. They have so much potential. Josh Allen, like I said from the beginning, that's what I want as a quarterback. I want a leader. I just don't want somebody who's just amazing. I want a leader. The guy gets up off the bench, cheers on his defense. That's what I want out of a leader for the Bills. And I have full confidence that we're definitely going to do very good in the playoffs. Now, we had a couple close games, at the beginning of the season, and it shouldn't have been like that. But I'm hoping that over the next couple weeks we kind of correct some of those things, find out what the issue was, because our run defense was getting better. We did let up some running, some good run plays, but overall we have the package. And the great part about it is that our secondary, our second string, third string, whatever you want to call them, I'm proud of these guys. They come out there in a game where they maybe have not, played more than 5 minutes, and they're coming out holding their own in one of their first major, football games, leading the way. And I love that, to see that from our secondary. So a lot of people walk away after the Miami game with their heads down. I looked at it as a positive thing. Unfortunately, we did lose, and it's a record, but I see potential, and I like that. The people who don't necessarily get to play all the time, they had the chance to shine, and they did a very good job. Unfortunately, the score and the loss was not a good thing, but I'm happy with the direction that we are headed with the organization. I love Sean McDermott, and one reason why I love McDermott is that he's a wrestler. So this guy is, and one thing I love about wrestlers is that, like all of my wrestling coaches and myself, I also coach wrestling. We are a different breed, and to have a coach that has a background in wrestling, to have that just hard, just that mentality where no excuses. We're gonna work as hard as we can. And I love that in wrestling, because you can't teach that stuff. To have somebody out there, even though wrestling and football are two completely different things, his mentality as a wrestler is, how he transitions at the football is phenomenal. And people don't really realize that. And that's what I love about the guy. He's a hard worker. He expects his team to work very hard, just like in wrestling. It's a very tough sport, and he expects that out of his players. And that's what I love about Sean McDermott.
Well, with wrestling too, I went to Iowa, and I've been in small towns that have fantastic wrestling programs, and I'm not a wrestler myself, but I've noticed that there's not a lot of error in wrestling, and if you make one little move here, then I mean you're find yourself flat on the mat, pinned, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I love wrestling. Wrestling for me, football and wrestling honestly taught me a lot about life. And a lot of people never truly understand that unless they play a sport, but it taught me a lot about life, overcoming things, working hard, building up, a team, a friendship, just being able to lean on each other. That taught me a lot about life, leaving there and having that mentality leaving, and, I thank wrestling, for guiding me in my mentality in the right direction, no matter what I tackle in life. It doesn't even have to be sports. I have that mentality, towards that. And in an instant wrestling, you can be put to your back and lose right away too. And it's one-on-one. It's, one person versus one person. And, that's tough for a lot of people to tackle, because when you're a team sport, you have other people to rely on to help, complete this play, or to succeed in whatever play they're doing. In wrestling, you have to show up yourself, be composed, understand everything that you went through, and tackle that stuff. So wrestling, like I said, wrestling is I love wrestling, and I'm so happy. Like I said, I'll say it again and again and again. I am so happy to have Sean McDermott, coaching our team with that tough mentality as a wrestler at heart.
Well, this has been a lot of fun. I definitely appreciate you coming on. And where can everyone find you again?
You can actually head over to Twitter to find me. It's Mr. Wheels 101. You can find me on Twitter there. I'm also on Instagram as well, Mr. Wheels 101, same thing. And I actually do have a YouTube page as well. It's Mr. Wheels 101 as well. I put a lot of our highlights on there for football. I'm transitioning my YouTube page into strictly football, but I have a lot of other videos from before, from sled hockey, wheelchair lacrosse. But actually, for those of you who have not seen our game at Riverworks when we played against the Cleveland Browns, you can go on my YouTube page, Mr. Wheels 101. And the last video that I uploaded was the first 3 quarters of our game against the Cleveland Browns. So the stream ended up cutting out, but I like to stream a lot of our games and practices so people can watch a little bit more and not just see it once a year, but just to continue to follow it and see how the team evolves itself. So, like I said, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, you got over there and check me out there. And like I said, I hope everybody, help spread the word about football and let's just keep this going. Let's just keep it moving forward. Buffalo, I love you guys. You guys have been amazing to us. Thank you.
Absolutely. Everyone like, subscribe, comment. I definitely want to hear from everyone on this. And once again, this has been NFL Outdated Cover 2 series. Thanks again, Mr. Wheels, and best of luck in your season this year.
All right. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.